Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki
Why?
Fateh. I am super excited to introduce two wonderful guests to you for our Why Write Sikhi Books Khalis talk. So, firstly, I would like to introduce Jamanpreet Kaur Panji. A little bit about her background is that she's a data science professional. She's happily married with two little Khalsas. Having grown up in Punjab before moving to the US, she always yearned for her children to have the same Gursikhi environment that she was blessed with during her childhood years. So she's been volunteering with Khalis Foundation to help publish Sikhi literature for little kids. She feels strongly about having Gurmat content tailored towards our children growing up in the West so that they can also experience the Amrit of Gurbani and serve the Khalsa Panth for generations to come. So we're very happy. So thank you, Chaman Gorpanji, for joining us. And we've also got Paramleen Gorpanji joining us from India as well, so we really appreciate it. She's a psychiatrist by profession and has been practicing for over 25 years. Born and brought up in Punjab, so it was brilliant seeing this book come to fruition as well. And she has a deep love for Gurbani, Sikhi, Punjabi, and Punjab, and aims to be a better person every single day to learn and share. Just to say a little bit about Khalis Foundation as well, we are an organization that creates Sikhi apps, webs, products, books that connect people to Sikhi and bring Sikhi into people's homes. And they've been doing it for almost over 25 years with products like Sundar Gutka and Sikhi to the Max. And of course, we're going to be sharing some of our wonderful books that have been created by people as well. So thank you so much, Paramleen Gorpanji, for being here as well. So we're going to be learning a lot from you guys together. So we're going to be talking about Sej Kaur's Day. If we want to introduce, if you guys want to give a little introduction to what Sej Kaur's Day is about and what inspired the book.
Sahaj Kaur's Day is about one day in the life of a young girl living in the 18th century in Punjab. And it's been inspired by two other books. One is Prem Singh's Day, earlier published by the Khalis Foundation itself. And the second book is Satwant Kaur by Paisa Veer Singh Ji. And it got inspired in the sense that I have been volunteering with the Khalis for quite a few years now, and I was the translator for Prem Singh's Vacation, which was also published by Khalis some time back. And during that publication and prior to that, there was this awareness within the team that we were lacking a core book by Khalis. And also, the author of Prem Singh's Vacation was, as a growing up kid, very, very fond of Prem Singh's Day. And so, building up from that, I recall that as a child myself, when I was a tween or teen maybe, I read Satwant Kaur, and I think it had a huge impact on me as I was growing up and even today. And just like Chamanpreet Penji said that she wants her kids to have a background rich in our history, to get those same things that we had. And today I see that our kids are way more exposed to so many other forms of literature and information, that the limited things we had, they don't get as much exposure to them. So I wanted to kind of bring Satwant Kaur and her resilience, her spirit, her resourcefulness, and her steadfastness in Sikhi to our younger generations. So I tried that, Prem Singh's Day with a combination of some form of Satwant Kaur. That's how this book came to be.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. It's so true. We don't see many cool books around, so it's always nice to see a character that's being represented really, really well. And yeah, we have a lot of other Carlist books as well where we haven't seen like a core main character. So definitely like a huge gap and very much needed. Jamanpreet Kaur Benji, what else, if anything, inspired you to write this book, Saj Kaur's Day?
Well, I'm not exactly a writer. I was more like an editor, bouncing off ideas. Mainu lagda hai, the first time I got this chance, um, there could be an opportunity to work on a book, on a sick kids book. I just took it with both hands, just because I feel like this is required, this is a need uh, for kids in our fund. Then, if there is a need, why not help fulfill that need? So that's how this started for me. The script was already decided, as in what are we going to publish, and we needed more people in the project. Yeah, I came in there at that point. So yeah, that's how I landed on the script of Sage Kaur's Day.
Yeah, definitely edited very, very well, I'd say. And we definitely need things that are there for our children to look at and be inspired by, just how you were using the examples, Paramleen or Benji as well. So I think you've both done that extremely, extremely well. The next question I have for you guys is, how do you balance that historical accuracy with storytelling? Because you were talking about this being based in Punjab and what year it was based. So I'd love to learn a little bit more about that.
So historical accuracy, we tried because we've both been born and brought up in our early years in Punjab. So it was easy to connect, discuss, and bounce back ideas of each other. And it's a very simple book, so historical accuracy was needed more for the illustrations and the basic things. Especially there was this one point about schooling in that era for girls. So we actually had help from within the Khalis team also, and we did really research that how it was done, and we portrayed it based on the data. The other thing was that my kids are a bit grown up, but Chamanpreet Panji's kids are in the target range. So it was very helpful for her to be on board, and there were a couple of things where her ideas on what this age group of kids, especially in the diaspora, would need, which I was not so connected with. So those things, they got incorporated into the script as well. And I think that balanced out the historical perspective with the current one.
I think Benji, I think I have a bigger story to tell here. I think
Yes,
we
I
start.
think you do.
I think we started like for the script. I think it was already in line because it was inspired from Satwant Kaur and from Prem Singh's days. So there was like this accuracy that had already been checked off. I think we really started to think about it on a more deeper level. Jadon we started to, like Penty said, work on the visualization, on the illustrations. ਤੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਐਜ਼ ਐਨ ਐਡੀਟਰ ਆਈ ਹੈਡ ਟੂ ਮੇਕ ਦ ਫਰਸਟ ਡਰਾਫਟ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਯੂ ਹੈਵ ਟੂ ਟੈਲ ਦ ਇਲਸਟ੍ਰੇਟਰ ਲਾਈਕ ਐਵਰੀ ਸਮਾਲ ਡਿਟੇਲ ਕਿ ਪਿੱਛੇ ਕੀ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ, ਕਿਹੜੇ ਰੰਗ ਦਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ, ਕਿੰਨਾ ਵੱਡਾ ਕਿੰਨਾ ਛੋਟਾ ਹੋਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ। ਤੇ ਉਦੋਂ it started to hit me ਕਿ we cannot put random things. Now there are different kinds of books where you could keep the background really simple and focus just on the character, or you could add more depth to the background. And that's where it hit me like maybe this is an opportunity to add more depth to the background and give not just a day in the life of Sagecor, but so many more elements that were from that era that kind of connect you to your roots, to your culture. So uh, we started discussing this, that the pictures that I'm getting online to give to the illustrator don't really depict Punjab as in that era. So then Paramleen Kaur came out and she said that, you know what, there's a museum in Ludhiana that I could go visit that has like historical artifacts. And she actually went ahead and went there and took pictures, and then we incorporated all those small little details like what a vessel should look like, ਚੱਕੀ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਸੀਗੀ ਜਾਂ ਆਲੇ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਘਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੇ architectural details, object details, all of that. So I think that's another dimension of historical accuracy that kind of gets built into little kids' books because they're so picture focused. And I think even when you're reading a book to a very little kid, more than listening to you, they look at the pictures. and that has a very big impact on them. So I feel like you have to be very
Yeah.
conscious, um, be very diligent about what you're putting there. ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਛੋਟੀ ਛੋਟੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖ ਕੇ ਕਹਿਣਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਇਦਾਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਇੱਥੇ ਤਾਂ ਇਦਾਂ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ so yeah.
Yeah, so that is why, in fact, the whole idea, like we discussed also, and prior to that also, there was this thing that my kids also were exposed to Prem Singh's Day when they were younger, and the kids can be extremely critical, like Penji just said. They would say, but you told me that this is supposed to be based in 18th century, because I had happened to have a conversation with the author of Prem Singh's Day, and he told me that the illustrations don't match. Yes, dear. Then what does he do apart from this thing during the day? Is this the only thing he does? So, based off on the pictures, that is why I had to ask Manjot Singh Virji that where is this Prem Singh's Day based in? Is it based in Punjab, or is it based in US, or like it the illustrations of that did not really communicate that message, and my kids were really uh, kind of, it doesn't make sense to us. So that was something that was in my mind, and I would whenever we would visit gurdwaras in different cities, historical gurdwaras, so I would try to point out to them the architectural details. So that was the other reason that I felt that going to a museum and referencing pictures from real historical gurdwaras. The other resource that we have used is pictures of erstwhile gurdwaras, of old buildings of gurdwaras, from a book by Amardeep Singh. He went to Pakistan and Afghanistan and clicked a lot of pictures. So the Gurdwara depicted in the book is actually based off on one of the images of a Gurdwara in those books. The interior is also inspired from those Gurdwaras.
Yeah, definitely. Just to echo what you've said as well, when we were talking to the illustrator and the details were going in, I remember even the focus on like one pipple tree and like the shades and what the leaves were like. It was so
Yes.
intricate from all of you guys and all the feedback that was being given. No, it needs to be like this. This is what would match this. That was just a tree. So when you see these illustrations as well, we've had so much feedback that they're just so beautiful, and you can see the way you guys are describing the vessel, the chikki, you can really see that coming through with all the details that have been put in, and people can really tell it's been illustrated this year just because of how great it is. And kids definitely do tell the truth, so it's good that we're catching up with that. But even just not even as kids, because I remember even talking to other people on the Khalis team, like Manjot and Prabdev and everybody, and they were super excited when you guys were speaking about, well, this comes from here and this is what the brick was like,
Yeah.
and that's why we've done it like this. So I think it's really nice for parents to also be able to sit with that child and be like, oh, you know what, edda siga, edda siga, it's nice. It's a nice like a something for the adults as well, and not just oh, we can't be interested in this at all. So I really liked that was incorporated into this, because I think that's a really beautiful aspect of this book, which I don't think again a lot of books have. So I really appreciate that side of it.
Yeah.
Um, just to move on to the next question then. So I think you guys have touched on this a little bit already, but if we want to do a little bit of a deeper dive into it. So why do we think it's important to have these Sikh stories being told through literature today? I know you've said the stories that you read, and you've spoken about your kids, but there's a lot more around as well. So what is the most important reason for having them? Then I guess it is out of all the reasons.
Chaman, Preet, Penji, please.
I think the most important reason is just so that we have a way to communicate who we are, what our value system is, to educate and communicate to our next generation. And that's really important because regardless of what geography are you in, Sikhs are like we're spread across, and it's not definitive that you're going to be in a space where there is like a hue where you're surrounded. Okay, Punjab is one place where you're surrounded by Sikhi in all corners, and even there, I feel like now there is a greater need to have our own media, art, literature, everything spread out. But in internationally as well, we need it even more. Like this is one of the main medias through which we communicate our history and culture and our beliefs to our kids. So yeah, that I would say would be the main thing that we need Sikhi content.
Yeah, definitely. I think there are so many other books available or other devices available to children. So we need to have the option available for children just because so many things are so easy, so much fun for them that they need to have that alternative there. Because a lot of other books they have there's so many options out there for them already, but to have somebody that looks like them represented through literature is so important as well. Because in school you have to there's like a certain amount of books you have to read each week. In the morning you'll have like 30 minutes of reading time. Ghar ja ke tusi parna hega, especially in those younger years they make you read so much. And how much variety do those books have at that school, and how much are they represented there, and how much can they see themselves, right?
Not just
Yeah.
that, Prablin, I think the other way I see it is like this book is displayed in our bookcase. Like all the other books, they come and go. We go to the library, we exchange books. This is a permanent feature there. This I feel personally feel that this kind of connects your kid like as a stable thing in your life. Like my story is also out there, and I'm represented just as everybody else. And so this kind of I think this grounds the kids in their own identity, in how they feel about themselves, because it is also again connected with what they look is available that represents them. So having like good quality literature, good quality books for them that are representative and that they can showcase to others is also important. That helps them ground in their identity and feel proud of it.
Yeah.
100% in agreement, 100% true. Paramleen Korbenji, would you like to add anything?
I think I just agree with her on this, and I let her the opportunity because I thought she would put it across much better than I would.
Yeah, that sounds good. The next question I'd like to ask is, what impact do you hope your books will have on readers? And then also, we've just started speaking about that as well, Chaman Benji, like not just in the Sikh community, but maybe outside the Sikh community as well.
Absolutely. I have used this book already to showcase in my kids' schools, and I've gifted it to folks who are from a non-Sikh background. And I feel like when you're trying to explain somebody what you do or where you come from or what your day looks like or why do you dress a certain way, this is kind of like that soft introduction to who you are to non-Sikhs. So I would say that having all these books is like it does a lot more than what than the thought that we'd started with, just connecting our kids. It's like a window into a Sikh's life, or every book like this that comes out is kind of also tells the world around you about who you are and what your stories are.
Yeah. From my side, I believe that this book tries to capture my love for Punjab, that some bits of which I saw growing up, and those are no longer there. There's so much in the illustrations in this book that with the globalization and the fast way our lives and everything technology is moving these days, there's so many simple things in the lives, especially from the older times, that they're getting lost. And it's my way of you know keeping it alive in some ways, because in the greenery is also not so much there around us as it used to be. The skies are not as blue as they used to be. It's in a way, a way of nostalgia, and to recapture, at least visually, to keep a record of those times. Because most of our literature previously that I have come across is through words. And for young kids, having this background, having these visualizations, once they read even those books which only have words and no illustrations, this book would, make a lot of things come alive to them.
Both very, very beautiful answers, I'd say. And I'd probably say one of my favorite pages are the nighttime ones, the first one and the last one.
Okay.
Just because you do see like all the stars and there's less air pollution, of course, but tare najaran there, and you don't have a typical book of, if you read some books, they're like, yeah, my alarm went off and I woke up. These sorts of ਉਸ time 'ਚ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਜਾਗਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ? It's just natural, hana. There was no alarm or anything. They were naturally waking up at that Amrit Villa time, and just Saj could utki sigi, right? And like they've got the manja outside. Hono kono manja this one, right? You can't even do it, right? So it's nice to see the ideas that you guys thought about have definitely come across as well. So no, that was very, very beautiful. Anything else to add before we move on to the next one?
The light
I think this will
pollution
be
was also this.
yeah.
The light
True, very true. um, no, it's true. We try to look now and we're like we can spot maybe two, three, and if you go back, you even when you were younger, you can see so many
Yeah.
more.
In my childhood, I used to love looking at the night sky, and this is also something I miss sharing with my children. There are no longer as many stars in the sky.
No, definitely. I
Yeah.
think
I feel like for me it brings a lot of nostalgia back as well because ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਨਿਆਣੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਤੇ ਗਰਮੀ ਦੀਆਂ ਛੁੱਟੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਾਨਕੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਮਾਸੀਆਂ ਮਾਮੇ ਦੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਿਆਣੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਮੰਜੇ ਢਾ ਕੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਵਿਹੜੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸੌਂਦੇ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਉਦੋਂ ਰਾਤੀ
Yeah.
ਸੈਂਟਰ ਦੇ ਨਾ ਜੀ ਉਹ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਖੀਆਂ ਸੁਣਾਉਂਦੇ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਆਸ-ਪਾਸ ਸਾਰੇ ਨਿਆਣੇ ਸੌਂਦੇ ਸੀ this kind of brings back that feeling that you're outside on a manja sleeping and there's family around you. You're not by yourself in your room, and there's much more bonding. This picture alone kind of brings a lot of things to me, a lot of warmth and fuzziness to my to my thought.
when you guys are
It does.
speaking, it's reminding me of like this page as well. And it's like Saj Kaur does, Nitane with her family and her Simran. And
Yeah.
it's you can see in the depictions that there's like grandpa there, Nyane Othea, and the mother and the father, and there's like joint families. And ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਹੈਗੇ ਹੋ ਨਾ ਉੱਥੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਮਾਸੀ ਮਾਸੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ it's like that gathering is very quick, very easy. Everybody's very close. ਪਿੰਡ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ. You can come together. Whereas that's something we might not observe as much, or people might not be living in those joint families anymore. It might be those nuclear families. That's it. They're not getting the grandparents and the masis and the tayas and tayis being that close together. So when that page comes around and you're seeing that unit, you don't see that as often now. But I imagine then during that time, and also speaking to our grandparents, sare nal, and even when we go back to India, everybody and and we always say, the one thing about coming here is ਅਸੀਂ ਦੂਰ ਦੂਰ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਆ, and it's always something very hard to get a grasp of because our communities have always been built living very close together and bonding together in that way. So this page definitely brings that out as well.
Yeah, and if you think about it from a Sikhi perspective, like the whole panth is your parvar. They I feel like there's also a need to teach our kids how do you think about that? Like living so I would say in nuclear families and so far apart when you do not experience this kind of community anymore. How do you have that feeling in you despite of not experiencing it every single day? Like how do you think about the month first and not just yourself while you're not living it every single day? So I feel like there's a lot that these pictures can say depending on who's reading it and from what eyes. But yeah, there's like a lot from a Panthic perspective as well that I can kind of relate to from there.
Yeah.
That's that's a really nice perspective to share as well. I appreciate that. This is a fun question. So, what was the biggest challenge you faced when working with and bringing Serge Gore's Day to life? Oh, there are no challenges, guys.
Oh,
There were a lot of challenges, obviously, of course, uh, and they were primarily to do with the illustration and trying to bring our illustrator on the same page as we were on. I think that was our biggest challenge,
that's so true.
and
I mean,
because
this is yeah. It was one thing to first come together to a shared vision about what a single page should look like, and that was an and then there was another challenge of getting the illustrator on board as well, and for her to visualize the same way we are trying we are visualizing
yeah,
this
because initially in the pages where there is Nitname and Simran pages, so when we just gave her simple instructions, what she drew was what appeared to us as a Muslim namaz time. The way they were sitting, the way the mats were placed, individual single mats. So it was actually a Muslim visualization. So we looked for more pictures, and then ultimately I made line drawings for the illustrator to see how people will need to be placed, label them. Like we had to label every single small thing. We had to pay attention to how the mustache looks, how the beard looks for the men, how the dupatta is being used by the women, which dress, how long is it, how does the lower look like, how does the plate look like. Every single smallest detail we try to pay attention to, and um, that was probably like we worked really, really hard on the illustrations.
That's so true. And from a project management standpoint and a financial standpoint, I think we were also very focused on the fact that this is a Seva project, and the main aim is actually for our kids to be able to have access to this book. And for that, for logistically, planning it in a way where we minimize costs and we were able to get it through to all geographies, and we kind of worked on our timelines. And I think another big challenge was how do we market this, and how do we get it across.
Yeah,
This is not like a commercial thing where we have commercial platforms to market it. And how do we get it across to Sangat? How do we make it reach and put it into the hands of the people it is supposed to be in? So I think that's one thing, is getting a
that
project done. The thing is to achieve what that project was supposed to achieve, and how to
there's
keep,
a
yeah, how to make sure that we utilize the sanstha is run on this one. How do we make sure that we are true to the utilization of those funds? And yeah, I feel that burden the most. I feel that way.
and that is an ongoing challenge.
Yes, still figuring out how can we make it even better.
Yeah, I think we everybody definitely expanded their skill sets and learned like all the different tasks they could, even the sizing of the book and the book page. And I remember that being a really early conversation. And, I remember in the Gurdwara picture in particular, getting all the different representations of who could be sitting in a Gurdwara. I remember that being a huge focus as well, and like which side, because the Gurdwara is a place of diversity. So I remember that being chosen, young, different looking, dupattas, dastara, chitti dari, kali dari, everything, shorti dari, mixing and also depicting the chor sahib correctly. I know she was doing different things and the kirpan being a different way. So a lot of detail went in to make it very, very accurate for what it actually looks like in real life. And that is a challenge as well when we don't have many Sikh illustrators. Um, so it's bringing having more Sikh illustrators. I remember we even had a couple of our younger girls that are working on a book do some of the illustration courses just so they could see if that was something they're interested in, giving opportunities to our youth as well to see, because it would be much easier for a Sikh person to be creating these illustrations. And but yeah, it was definitely a task, sharing what those images in your head, bringing them to life with someone that has not maybe even experienced them before. And definitely the marketing aspect, I think, because we're in that phase as well right now, it's giving justice to what you've created. And yeah, that's definitely something that's probably a bit heavier now just because we're in that phase. So no, I totally understand that. um The next question would be, what role do you think Sikh authors can play in shaping the narrative around Sikh identity, especially for the diaspora? I know we've spoken a little about Sikh identity as well. So, just in terms of that, your thoughts?
Go ahead, Benji. I think you being the author kind of can.
I believe that early years are extremely important. That is why Khalis focusing on books for young children is a good thing. And how you represent a Sikh for young kids, and it should be closer to the ideal as well as extremely relatable. That is the thing that needs to be achieved for our future generations to remain close to Sikhi. And actually, we need to work hard on it so that they are closer to Sikhi in their daily lives than we are. Only then we would be doing a good job. So I would actually, the idea the team has discussed, and we have further plans for this book as well. Because with this book, especially, we wanted to grow with the children. We are planning a next version as well, which would be uh, more, there would be a longer script and a little more detail added in the script. And then we would probably be hoping to have some activities around the book, because using the illustrations that we've worked so hard. So we would also like to share our perspective on those stories, the nostalgia, because all parents also may not be exposed to all the things that we have been. So working as a team to give those tiny stories bigger space would help further. And authors, every author is a unique individual, and every individual can bring a different perspective. But I believe that the focus should be on trying to give our children a better beginning than even we had.
I I think it's kind of dependent on what the author is trying to achieve. Um, Being in the diaspora, I think one aim is for non-Sikhs, for us to create awareness, like who are the Sikhs. So there need to be books who target non-Sikhs, or who are in the league of I don't know, books that could be kept in a library. And then there is also a greater need for having books that connect our kids to their Sikhi. And I feel like it's dependent on what the author is trying to achieve. One In one category, I feel like your skills as a storyteller, or your skills as a uh, within the literature field, are very, very important. But in the other field, I think as long as you also focus on, as long as you can retell even your history, I think you will be able to achieve that job, because ਜੋ ਸਾਡੀ ਹਿਸਟਰੀ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਿਖਾ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ, ਹੋਰ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਿਖਾ ਸਕਦੀ. When it comes to, I feel like there's also a need to retell our forgotten tales. our tales of our heroes. And to one is telling our history, the other is also having books that are very close to Gurbani. Because again, when we start doing something which is inherently very, I feel like, which is inherently focused on Gurbani, and if we do not keep it close to Gurbani enough, फिर again we'll make mistakes because पूरा दस साढ़े जो कोई भी नहीं हैगा. The more you stick to Gurbani, you're not trying to put yourself out there. I feel like that helps because then it ultimately kind of connects you to the source. You're not trying to put anything of your perspective. ਹੁਣ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਕੋਲ ਕਿਸੇ ਕੋਲ ਬਾਲਟੀ ਹੈ ਕਿਸੇ ਕੋਲ ਮੱਗਾ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਉਸ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਾ ਰਿਹਾ. So I feel like this kind of falls in the second category of books, and Ode, which I feel like even if you do not diverge too much from Gurmat or the real history, I think you will be able to achieve the goal. But yeah, in terms of creating fictional novels or fictional stories, it becomes like a very different category where um, the main character might be from a Sikh home, and then there's a creator's story, and I feel like that's for me. To me personally, I'm not a writer, but that's more challenging. Probably not something that I can take on.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting to hear your guys' perspective on this, that you guys created the ideal version in terms of Gurbani as well, because you thinking about it, you allow these kids to see what that looks like in their minds with images, which is really nice because saying something to a kid is one thing, tonu edda karna cheda, edda sikh kar de, edda gur sikh kar de. Then seeing it happen in a book is something completely different. Like, how does that actually look like in a day?
Yeah.
Because even at an older age we have people questioning sanu ki karna chahiye, like what is it, and we have it in Gurbani. Guru Sahib tells us, so pal ke uthar naam te aaye, right? So what do you do? Swear no uthna, amrit vela utھ ke naam simran karna, nitnem karna, ishnan karna. And you see it happening here, which is such a nice way to see it, because at that age you might hear Gurbani, you might be sitting in the Gurdwara, but that might not be translating the same way. And it's also like, if I can't see it, I can't really achieve it. So you've created something where it's like, oh, oh, remember this shabbat? Oh, there it is, and edda kar diya. I think it's kind of like when a kid can especially visualize something. Jida sahaj kar diya, oh sahaj kar se edda ma kar diya. And it's even as adults, sometimes like someone might have an idea, and if it's completely new and they've never seen it, they'll be like, that's impossible. Like, ਏਦਾਂ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ. But when we've seen it, or when we've as adults heard like the sakis and the stories of Gorsiks and the shaheeds, then you're like, oh, ਏਦਾਂ ਤੇ ਹੋ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ ਨਾ. And at that age they might not see what does like a true Gursik or no ki pata, but this, I definitely, it was really nice hearing you guys say that, because it definitely clicked some pieces in my mind.
Oh yeah, I still feel like the best way to teach a kid is to model it. But again, we all are human and we make our mistakes. So when you're reading a book like this, I think like it also reminds you that oh मैं करते नहीं रही पर होने को सिखाना तो करना पड़ता.
Yeah.
But
सहज
it
कौर
also
3 बजे
gives.
ਉੱਠਦੀ ਆ ਮੰਮੀ. ਤੁਸੀਂ
No,
4
no,
ਵਜੇ
and
ਕਿਉਂ ਉੱਠਦੇ ਆ?
kids are also going to point out, right? Kids are also going to
Yeah.
point out. We
Oh,
don't do it
absolutely.
like this.
Hmm.
So
But it's sorry, it's a bit delayed
kids are
at me
huge.
at my end, so I couldn't really. You're still saying something.
Yeah, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, even if somebody is in a situation where they do not have like a very gourmet oriented household, it's just nice to have a book for reference that this is what it should look like and this is what we strive for. So no matter where you are in your journey, it is helpful to have it.
Yeah. So this book is the idealized version, right? And that is why it's situated in 18th century, because that is a reasonable distance from our current times, and we can put it in perspective that when times were simpler, lives were simpler, this is how it looked like. And that is why our history is so rich with so many Sikh heroes and heroines, who could really live their Gursikhi Jeevan Jach in a way that we sometimes feel we are far away from. So it is an inspiration, definitely an inspiration, which is why that when you are younger, if you get this into your head, into your mind, it remains there somewhere. I remember when I was a kid and I was reading books like this, they shaped my perspective of the community I belonged to. I got that pride. And I remember my brother kidding with me, and we used to talk about Punjabi words and English words. And he said, you know what? Anak ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਉਸਦੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੋਈ ਟਰਾਂਸਲੇਸ਼ਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਭਦੀ ਤੇ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਣਖ ਬੜੀ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੈ ਐਂਡ today also I remember and I think that belonging to this community, the heritage we have, the history we have, and our kids are quite often not aware of it. But the more we help them see what is all there in our history, they would also feel part of this anak, they will have this experience. And no word in English fully describes what anak is. It's only through our stories that we can share.
ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਨਾ ਬਬਾਣੀਆਂ ਕਹਾਣੀਆਂ ਪੁੱਤ ਸਪੁੱਤ ਕਰਨ ਤੇ
Yeah.
ਉਹ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਕਹਾਣੀਆਂ ਸੁਣਾਈਆਂ ਜਾਣ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਪੁੱਤਰ ਤੇ ਸਪੁੱਤਰ ਬਣ ਸਕਣ
ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਬਣ ਸਕੀਏ. We also need to do better, right?
ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਲਈ
That leads really nicely actually into the next question because it's related to the Punjabi language, as you were saying. What role do these books play in preserving and promoting the Punjabi language and Sikh history? Because that's one thing we haven't really touched on. So, really interested to hear your thoughts on that.
ਮੈਂ
Yeah.
ਇਹਦਾ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਸਾਡੇ ਲਈ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਕੱਲੇ ਬਾਹਰ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਕਿਤੇ ਨਾ ਕਿਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਤੋਂ ਟੁੱਟਦੇ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ 'ਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਕਿ ਆਪਣੀ ਬੋਲੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਹੀਣ ਭਾਵਨਾ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਕਰਨੀ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਸ ਭਾਸ਼ਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੇ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬੋਲੋਗੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਮਝ ਕਿੱਥੋਂ ਆਊਗੀ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੌਲੀ ਹੌਲੀ ਵਿਸਰ ਜਾਣਗੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਅੱਖਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਕੀ ਸਿਖਾਉਣਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਹੀ ਭੁੱਲ ਜਾਣੇ ਹੁਣ ਸਾਡੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੇਸ਼ਤਰ ਇੱਕ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਰਲਗੱਡ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅੱਖਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ 'ਚ ਭੁੱਲ ਗਏ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਦੇ ਇਸਤੇਮਾਲ ਕਰ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਫਿਰ ਉਹੀ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਵੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੋਲਣਾ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕੋ ਸੈਂਟੈਂਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅੱਖਰ ਮੈਂ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ 50% ਤਾਂ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਦੇ ਹੀ ਲੱਗੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਇਸ ਕਿਤਾਬ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਦੋ ਭਾਸ਼ੀਆਂ ਰੱਖੀਏ ਵੀ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਵੀ ਹੋਵੇ ਤੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਹੋਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇੱਕ ਲਾਈਨ ਲੈਟਸ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ 'ਚ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਹੋ ਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਸਤਰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ 'ਚ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਹੋ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ 'ਚ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਥੋੜ੍ਹਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਰਿਲੇਟ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਵੀ ਹੁਣ ਇਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਵੀ ਰਿਲੇਟ ਆ ਗਿਆ ਵੀ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਇਸੇ ਅੱਖਰ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ 'ਚ ਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ 'ਚ ਕੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਤਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਇੱਕ ਸ਼ਬਦ ਕੋਸ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਾਧਾ ਕਰਨ 'ਚ ਵੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਦੁਭਾਸ਼ੀਆਂ ਕਿਤਾਬਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ 'ਚ ਮਦਦ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਹੈ ਮੇਰੇ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਨਾਲ ਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਵੀ ਕਿਤੇ ਨਾ ਕਿਤੇ ਸਾਡਾ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਫੋਕਸ ਸੀਗਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਤੇ ਗੌਰ ਫਰਮਾਇਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਉੱਪਰ ਹੋਵੇ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਡੀ ਭਾਸ਼ਾ 'ਚ ਮਾਣ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਤੇ ਕੌਣ ਕਰੂਗਾ ਤਾਂ
ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਾਰੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਜੋ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੀ ਮਾਂ ਬੋਲੀ ਸੀਗੀ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਡੇਟ ਵਿੱਚ ਉੱਦਾਂ ਮਾਂ ਬੋਲੀ ਰਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਸੀ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਕੁਝ ਜੋ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਥਾਵਾਂ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨੌਕਰੀਆਂ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਜਾਂ ਕਹਿ ਲਓ ਜੌਬ ਪ੍ਰੋਫਾਈਲ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਦੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਾਫੀ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਵਰਤਣੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਜ਼ਬਾਨ ਬਦਲ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਸੋ ਬੱਚੇ ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਉਸਨੂੰ ਐਕਸਪੋਜ਼ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਹੈ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਉਹੀ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਹੈ ਦੂਜਾ ਫਿਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹ ਪੜ੍ਹਨ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੈ ਆਪਣੇ ਗਰੁੱਪ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੈ ਉੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਵਨ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਕੂਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਾਓ ਉੱਥੇ ਬਹੁਤੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਕੂਲ ਵਾਲੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਵੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ 'ਚ ਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ ਸੋ ਜੇਕਰ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੂੰ ਸਿਰਫ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਨੁਕਤਾ ਬਣ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਕਿ ਇਹਦੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਬਾਕੀ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਔਖੀ ਹੈ ਸੋ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਾਰਨ ਹੈ ਜੇ ਰੂਟੀਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਜਾਏ ਆਮ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਜਾਏ ਤਾਂ ਇੰਨਾ ਫਰਕ ਨਹੀਂ ਪੈਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਪਰ ਫਰਕ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਨਾਲ ਜੁੜਨ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਜੇਕਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਨੂੰ ਸਮਝਣ ਅਤੇ ਫੋਲੋ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ, ਆਪਣੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਉਤਾਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਸਮਝਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਰਿਸੋਰਸਿਸ ਬਚਦੇ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਘੱਟ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੈ। ਜੇਕਰ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਆਉਂਦੀ ਹੋਏਗੀ ਤਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਡਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰਾ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਹੋਇਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਵੀ ਤੇ ਲਿਟਰੇਚਰ ਵੀ, ਉਹ ਸਾਰਾ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ 'ਚ ਹੈ। ਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਡੇਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਦੋਂ ਬੱਚੇ ਵੱਡੇ ਪੜ੍ਹਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕਿਤਾਬ ਚੁੱਕਦੇ ਆ ਨਾ, ਤਾਂ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਵਾਲੀ ਚੁੱਕਣੀ ਬੜੀ ਸੌਖੀ ਲੱਗਦੀ। ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਵਾਲੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਚੁੱਕਣ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਨਾ 2 ਵਾਰੀ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਆ, ਇਹ ਹੁਣ ਪੜ੍ਹੀ ਜਾਏਗੀ। ਮੈਂ ਆਪ ਬਚਪਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਪੜ੍ਹੀ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਡੇਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਚੁੱਕਦੀ ਹਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਈ ਵਾਰ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇਹਦੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਅੱਖਰ ਸਮਝ ਆ ਜਾਣਗੇ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਇੰਨੇ ਵਰਤਦੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਰਲਗੜ ਵਾਲੀ ਹੀ ਬੋਲਦੀ ਹਾਂ। ਪਰ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਜੇ ਸਮਝਣੀ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਨੂੰ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਾ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਪਏਗਾ, ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਨੂੰ ਮਾਂ ਬੋਲੀ ਰੱਖਣਾ ਪਏਗਾ। ਤੇ ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੋਲਣ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਠੀਕ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਡਾਇਸਪੋਰਾ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਬਹੁਤ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਹੈ। ਮੈਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਾਰੀ ਨੋਟਿਸ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਜ਼ਬਾਨ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਹੋ ਉਹ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਹੈ। ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਡਾਇਲੈਕਟਸ ਹੈਗੇ ਹੈ। ਮੇਰੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਸ਼ੁਰੂਆਤ ਤੋਂ ਹੈ ਐਸੋਸੀਏਸ਼ਨ ਕਿ ਬੜੇ ਡਾਇਲੈਕਟਸ ਹੈ, ਪਛਾਣ ਹੈ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇੱਧਰ ਉੱਧਰ ਜਾਣਾ ਪਿਆ, ਹੌਸਟਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹੇ, ਉੱਥੇ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਥਾਵਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਲੋਕ ਸੀਗੇ। ਪਰ ਫੋਨੇਟਿਕਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਫਰਕ ਹੈ। ਡਾਇਸਪੋਰਾ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਫੋਨੇਟਿਕਸ ਯੂਜ਼ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਨੂੰ ਬੋਲਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ, ਉਹ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੇ। ਸੋ ਰਾਈਟਿੰਗ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ, ਲਿਖਣ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ, ਜਦੋਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਵਿੱਚ ਟਰਾਂਸਲਿਟਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਮੈਂ ਨੋਟਿਸ ਕਰਦੀ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਮਾਂ ਬੋਲੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਇੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਸੈਕਿੰਡ ਲੈਂਗੁਏਜ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਟਰਾਂਸਲਿਟਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਡਾਇਸਪੋਰਾ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਟਰਾਂਸਲਿਟਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਵੱਖਰੇ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੈ। ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਈ ਵਾਰੀ ਮਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਡਰ ਜਾਂ ਤੌਖਲਾ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਾਰ ਇੱਦਾਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਮੂਲ ਰੂਪ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਡਾਇਸਪੋਰਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਡਰ ਇਹ ਰਹਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਮੂਲ ਰੂਪ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਡਾਇਸਪੋਰਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਨੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਜਿੰਨੀ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈ। ਸੋ ਉਹ ਕਿਤੇ ਨਾ ਕਿਤੇ ਉਸਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਇੱਕੋ ਥਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਲਿਆਉਣਾ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਸਾਡਾ ਡਾਇਸਪੋਰਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਨਾ ਭੁੱਲੇ ਕਿ ਵੀ ਸਿਰਫ ਬਾਹਰਲੇ ਕੰਟਰੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਐਡਜਸਟ ਹੋਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਮਾਂ ਬੋਲੀ ਨੂੰ ਭੁੱਲ ਜਾਈਏ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਮਾਂ ਬੋਲੀ ਹੈ। ਉਹਨੂੰ ਮਾਂ ਬੋਲੀ ਰੱਖਾਂਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਨਾਲ ਪ੍ਰੋਪਰਲੀ ਜੁੜ ਸਕਾਂਗੇ।
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ
ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੈ ਜੋ ਡਾਇਸਪੋਰਾ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਜਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਹਾਲੇ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਡੇਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੋ ਧਿਆਨ ਮਿਲਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲ ਰਿਹਾ।
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ। ਮੈਂ ਮਤਲਬ ਇੱਕ ਗੁਰਮਤ ਪਰਸਪੈਕਟਿਵ ਤੇ ਹੈ ਹੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਸਮਝੋਗੇ। ਮੈਂ ਕਿ ਕੁਝ ਦਿਨ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਇੱਕ ਰਿਸਰਚ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਭਾਸ਼ਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਸੋਚਣ ਦਾ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਵੀ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਦੇ ਗੁੰਦਿਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਹੁਣ ਇੱਕ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਉਦਾਹਰਣ ਦੇ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਬੰਦਾ ਗਿਆ ਕਿਸੇ ਮਿਊਜ਼ੀਅਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਉਹਦੇ ਤੋਂ ਉੱਥੇ ਇੱਕ ਬੇਸ਼ਕੀਮਤੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਪੁਰਾਣਾ ਇੱਕ ਕੋਈ ਭਾਂਡਾ ਪਿਆ ਸੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਕਿ ਮਿੱਟੀ ਦਾ ਬਣਿਆ ਸੀ, ਉਹ ਤੋਂ ਡਿੱਗ ਗਿਆ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹ ਭਾਂਡਾ ਡਿੱਗਿਆ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਦੀ ਇੱਕ ਫੋਟੋ ਖਿੱਚੀ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਬੰਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਬੋਲਦਾ ਸੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਬੰਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਫ੍ਰੈਂਚ ਬੋਲਦਾ ਸੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਦਿੱਤਾ। ਤੇ ਇੱਕ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਇਹਨੇ ਭਾਂਡਾ ਤੋੜਤਾ ਤੇ ਦੂਜੇ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਇਹ ਤੋਂ ਭਾਂਡਾ ਟੁੱਟ ਗਿਆ। ਹੁਣ ਦੋਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਫਰਕ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਹਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਇਲਜ਼ਾਮ ਲਗਾ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ। ਸੋ ਇੱਕ ਭਾਸ਼ਾ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਸੋਚਣ ਦਾ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਵੀ ਦਿੰਦੀ ਹੈ। ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਹਰੇਕ ਚੀਜ਼ ਬਾਰੇ ਕੀ ਪਰਸਪੈਕਟਿਵ ਹੋਏਗਾ, ਜਾਂ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਈਵਨ ਇਹਦਾ ਪ੍ਰਭਾਵ ਈਵਨ ਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲ ਜਸਟਿਸ ਸਿਸਟਮ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਭਾਸ਼ਾ ਬੋਲ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਉਸ ਸੰਦਰਭ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ ਫੋਟੋ ਦਿਖਾਈ ਸੀ। ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਈ ਭਾਸ਼ਾਵਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਸਿਰਫ ਐਸੇ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਬਹੁਤ ਡਾਇਰੈਕਸ਼ਨਲ ਨੇ, ਵੀ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛੋਗੇ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਕੀ ਹਾਲ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਉਹ ਕਹੂਗਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਖੱਬੇ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹਾਂ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਖੱਬੇ ਜਾਣਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਮੈਂ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਸਹੀ ਦਿਸ਼ਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ, ਸਭ ਕੁਝ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਵਧੀਆ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਚੱਲ ਰਿਹਾ। ਸੋ ਮੇਰਾ ਕਹਿਣ ਤੋਂ ਭਾਵ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਭਾਸ਼ਾ ਇਕੱਲਾ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਇੱਕ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਸਮਝਣ 'ਚ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਰੋਜ਼ਮਰਾ ਦੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਵੇਖਦੇ ਹੋ, ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਪਰਸਪੈਕਟਿਵ ਵੀ ਬਿਲਡ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ, ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਸੋਚਣੀ ਕਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਬਿਲਡ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ। ਜਦ ਕੋਈ ਅੱਖਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਭਾਸ਼ਾ 'ਚ ਹੈ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਕੀ ਕਰੋਗੇ, ਜਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ 'ਚ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਢਾਲੋਗੇ? ਤੁਸੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਦੀ ਉਸ ਅੱਖਰ ਨੂੰ ਉਹਦੀ ਹੋਣ ਦੀ ਵੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ। ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਨੰਦ ਦੇ ਸਟੇਟ ਦੀ ਕੋਈ ਡਿਸਕ੍ਰਿਪਸ਼ਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਜੇ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਵੀ ਆਨੰਦ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਐਕਸਪੀਰੀਅੰਸ ਕਰੋਗੇ, ਜਾਂ ਉਹਦੇ ਵੱਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਵੇਂ, ਉਹ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਇੱਕ ਗੋਲ ਵੀ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਬਣੇਗਾ? ਸੋ ਇੱਕ ਭਾਸ਼ਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹੁਤ ਕੁਝ ਸੰਜੋਇਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਤੇ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਰੋਜ਼ਮਰਾ ਦੀ ਵੈਲਿਊਜ਼ ਜਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਸੋਚਦੇ ਹੋ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਗੂੜੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੁੰਦਿਆ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਸੋ
ਮੈਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਯਾਦ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, ਛੋਟੀ ਜੀ। ਮੈਂ ਸਕੂਲ ਪੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਸੀ ਤਾਂ ਮੇਰੀ ਇੱਕ ਸਹੇਲੀ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ, ਐਂਡ ਉਹ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ, ਤੂੰ ਇਹ ਨਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਨਾ ਕਰਿਆ ਕਰ, ਆਪਣਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਆਪਣਾ, ਆਪਣਾ ਸਭ ਦਾ। ਐਂਡ that also stands out to me, you know. Sada is can be we, ours, right? That does
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ
not convey apna.
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ
ਤੇ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੇ ਦੇ ਕਿਤੇ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਨੇੜੇ ਹੈ।
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ
ਇਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਨਵੀਂ ਜੀ ਲੈਂਗੁਏਜ ਕਹਿ ਦੋ ਹੋਗੀ ਪਿੰਗਲਿਸ਼ ਹਨਾ।
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ
ਪਿੰਗ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਸਾਰੇ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਨਿਆਣੇ ਹੁਣ ਇੱਥੇ ਸਕੂਲ 3 ਸਾਲ ਤੇ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਆ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ। ਸੋ ਘਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ 'ਚ ਹੀ ਬੋਲੋ, ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹਨੇ ਜਾਣਾ ਸਕੂਲ ਉੱਥੇ ਉਹਨੇ ਨੇ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਬੋਲਣੀ ਆ ਹਨਾ, ਉੱਥੇ ਤੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਲੈਣਾ। ਸੋ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਤੋਂ ਹੀ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਬੋਲਣ, ਫਿਰ ਉਹ ਦ੍ਰਿੜ ਹੋ ਜਾਂਦਾ, ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਸਕੂਲ ਜਾਣਗੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ੀ ਬੋਲਣੀ, ਉੱਥੇ ਤੇ ਬੋਲਣੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹਨਾ। ਤੇ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ
ਨਹੀਂ,
ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਹੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ
ਬਾਈਲਿੰਗੁਅਲ ਸੀ ਬੱਚੇ, ਛੋਟੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਆ ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਟਾਈਮ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ 4-5 ਲੈਂਗੁਏਜਸ ਵੀ ਆਰਾਮ ਨਾਲ ਸਿੱਖ ਸਕਦੇ, ਦੇ ਹੈਵ ਦੈਟ
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ
ਕੈਪੈਸਿਟੀ। ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਫੋਨੇਟਿਕਸ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਉਹ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ अर्ਲੀ ਇਅਰਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਸਿੱਖੀਆਂ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੀਆਂ। ਐਜ਼ ਐਨ ਐਡਲਟ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਉਹ ਫੋਨੇਟਿਕਸ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਰੀਪਰੋਡਿਊਸ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰਨਾ ਸਿੱਖ ਸਕਦੇ। ਸੋ ਜੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਕਰੈਕਟ ਫੋਨੇਟਿਕਸ ਪੈਦਾ ਹੋਣ ਦੇ ਟਾਈਮ ਤੋਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਹੀ ਉਹ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਸੋਹਣੀ ਬੋਲ ਪਾਣਗੇ।
ਹਾਂਜੀ ਜੀ। ਤੇ ਉਹ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਵੀ ਸਹੀ ਹੈ। ਅਗਰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਆਪ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਬੋਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕੋਗੇ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਮਝ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕੋਗੇ, ਫਿਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੋਰਾਂ ਵੱਲ ਦੇਖੋਗੇ ਇਹਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਇਹਦਾ ਮਤਲਬ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਮੈਂ ਕਦੀ ਇਹ ਸੁਣਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ, ਮੈਂ ਕਦੀ ਇਹ ਸੁਣਿਆ ਨਹੀਂ। ਫਿਰ ਹੋਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਗੁਰਸਿੱਖ ਵੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਬਜ਼ੁਰਗ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ, ਬਿਕੋਜ਼ ਉਹਨੇ ਇਕੱਲੇ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ 'ਚ ਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਆ। ਫਿਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਸਕਦੇ, ਨਾਨੀ ਨਾਨਾ ਹੋਏ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਦਾ। But I think this was a really good question to kind of like lead on to our kind of final wrap up, because I think that was it was so lovely to hear your answers for sure. The last thing I'd kind of end with and ask is, why should anybody go get Sahaj Kaur's Day from your perspective? Why should someone go get this book? Why is it different? Why should they get this?
ਚਮਨ ਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਜੀ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੱਸੋ।
ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਮੇਰਾ ਆਈ ਗੈਸ ਦਿਸ, ਮੈਂ ਪਰਸਨਲੀ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਲੱਗਦਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਿਤਾਬ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਨਾਲ ਰਿਲੇਟਡ, ਮੈਂ ਆਪਦੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਲਈ ਸਾਰੀ ਲੈਂਦੀ ਹਾਂ। ਬਟ ਆਈ ਗੈਸ ਦਿਸ ਇਜ਼, ਆਈ see it more like a pictorial, like a picturization of Ratnama for like little kids, like very simplified, very limited though, but just to tell them that okay, beta, this is your rehet, this is what a Sikh's life should look like, and so that they have that with them. Um, yeah, I guess connecting your kids with Sikhi, connecting them with their roots for little kids. I guess that's a good enough reason for me to go get it.
Yeah.
Thank you for
And
sharing.
giving them that visualization along with the Ratnama words, that visualization of what our roots looked like. That is all the reason. And like Chamanpreet Penji said earlier, that the stories in this, there can be so many stories in this, connecting you to your own individual roots as well. So the story that you are reading out is actually going to depend on who is reading out the story, who is looking at the book, and what does it remind them of, because it's going to remind you of so many different things.
Definitely. And I think it's always nice to give a gift to somebody. It's always nice to give Sikhi gifts to people. I feel like there's so many other gifts out there, but these ones are always the ones that are very lasting, where it's like, oh, tusi ਇਹ ਵਾਲੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਸੀ, and you get to have those conversations later as well. I really appreciate you guys coming on and talking to us about Sahaj Day and sharing your thoughts about writing a Sikh book and being involved in the process, sharing all the challenges. It can be incredibly helpful for people listening and thinking about these ideas as well. So I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much. I enjoyed that very, very much. So hopefully we get you on for some more conversations as well. Thank you for everyone listening as well. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji
Bye.
Ki
Like,
Fateh.
Thank you for having us.
thank you for having us.